everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Recruitment Roundup podcast, which is brought to you by BMS Performance. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, BMS Performance is a specialist sales and marketing recruitment consultancy. For the last 30 years, we've been helping businesses across the UK recruit for vacancies at every level. Welcome back to another episode of the Recruitment Roundup podcast. This is the first one of 2024. I'm your host, Mike Leather, and I am joined by my co-host,
Sam Musiarira. Happy New Year, Mike. Looking forward
Happy
to this
New
one.
Year, Sam. Happy New Year, Sam. So we're recording this on the Monday of the second week back, and I think it's fair to say that first week was busier than we expected it to be, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely frantic, Mike. I know, just speaking for myself, coming back into just the sheer amount of activities, just so encouraging for the first week back. It's just been so busy with lots of good stories, just in and around the business, around the team, lots of positive stuff happening. So yeah, great to come back to a busy and exciting week, which should hopefully set the tone for the year ahead in 2024.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was busy unexpectedly as busy as it was on both fronts, which was vacancies, but also candidates as well. Yeah. So we thought, didn't we, Sam, that it'd be great to record a podcast on what some really good hiring tips are for sales leaders, talent acquisition people, anyone that's looking to hire in January. And I guess to set the tone of the conversation, January in most years, in my experience in recruitment, except for last year, tends to be the busiest month of the year, both for vacancies, but also for candidates. Now, what does that mean for organizations looking to recruit? It means that positively, there's usually more people to select from, but can be negatively, you're up against a hell of a lot more competition.
100%, Mike. It's a really good point. And I think when we think back to January, when we're no different within our industry, people have those resolutions, right? You come into December, you're thinking, obviously, new year, new job, so I think that ultimately trickles down to what we're seeing within the marketplace, with companies actively looking to, embark on their exciting growth plans. And then equally with candidates, just, it's a new year, fresh start. I'm looking for a new job. And which ultimately means that there's, lots of opportunity for these candidates to be able to select and choose. It's a real interesting time to operate. Definitely my favorite time of the year for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely. I think because what you said there, new year, new start, new job. Another reason why I think we do see an influx of candidates at this time of the year as well is a lot of sales professionals are on annual bonuses, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
Or which are due to be paid at the end of January. So we see those sorts of people looking to come to the market. So let's kick it off, Sam. So you were fortunate enough to work with a lot of companies last week on new vacancies. No doubt you're having conversations with them about how they can get the most out of the sales recruitment market and strategies around what they need to do in order to be competitive against other employers and to ensure that they're recruiting top talent and accessing that top talent quickly and effectively. What are some of the strategies that you were speaking about?
Yes, loads to dive into. I'll probably go with the first one. For me, was ultimately streamlining the recruitment process. And what do I mean by that, Mike? That probably was going to be a question you're going to ask me. I think ultimately, when companies are looking to operate within this market where it's naturally going to be more competitive, where candidates have, option A, B, C right the way through, where your competitors are actively operating into, it's all about streamlining that recruitment process to be as effective as possible to get you see the most amount of talent, but also to ultimately be able to recruit that talent, get that talent off the market in a quick amount of time. So point number one for me has definitely been streamlining that process to make it as efficient as possible for yourself and the candidates involved.
Yeah. What does that look like in practice? And give us an example.
Yeah, so in practice, so that would be ultimately setting, first stage interview dates in a quick amount of time, and
Yeah.
ultimately setting second stage interview dates and getting that booked ahead of time, as well. In practicality, that's also getting all the key stakeholders, making sure that they are able to attend these interviews, so that there's no elongated, time that they might not be able to
Yeah.
attend. So it's just all about having that plan and, ultimately sort of sticking to it.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it? Because I think this time of year, one of the impacts of there being more vacancies on the
Yeah,
market, which there is that the candidate life cycle is
yeah,
shorter. So how do we then adapt to that? Well, we need to make sure that we've got the first date, second, third interview date. If there's a third interview,
yeah,
ideally booked
yeah.
in before the process starts. If you're
Correct.
working directly on the vacancy with your own internal recruitment team, this is
Yeah,
important because
yeah,
if you're a business that has got hundreds, thousands of employees, your recruitment teams are going to be working on multiple vacancies. They need to know when to focus on your
yeah,
job. Likewise, if you're working with recruitment partners, they're likely starting to be swamped in a sea of vacancies. So for those recruitment partners, if you're working with them on a contingent basis, even more important that you've got that interview availability up front, isn't it? So that they know when to
yeah,
start prioritizing and focusing on your job. This is something that we're talking to our clients about a lot, isn't it,
yeah.
Sam? So I'd
100%.
agree. Yeah, I think that organization and speed is absolutely key. How important are job adverts?
Well, it's a great question. I think you just said organization there.
Yeah,
Job adverts are key. Just I don't know, when I'm speaking to quite a lot of people within the industry, finding out when the last time that they actively, refreshed and changed those job adverts, right? I think there is a tendency naturally to, perhaps, advertise a role that you've advertised, 3, 6 months away
just use the
ago
same
earlier, and
advert, just recycle it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
job adverts are absolutely critical, in terms of making sure that they're up to date with the right requirements, with the right brief, with the right expectation that you're looking for. So yeah, that piece on adverts and organization is so, so key.
yeah. What would your advice be then to companies as to how they can refresh the job adverts,
Yeah.
and how they could potentially look to make them more interesting to the candidate
Yeah.
market?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think to refresh your job adverts is, um, the information that we're going to be looking for, if I'm a candidate, ideally is
Yeah,
making sure that it's up to date with the brief. So literally it is, if it's a territory manager role, an account manager position, is all that information where the area of the
yeah,
report you're
yeah,
covering,
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
that still up to date? Is the products and services that I'm selling, is that still up to date? Is the stakeholders involved in the process, is that information accurate? And then to go probably a step above that, does our advert highlight what makes it good for us to work for us as a company? Right. So,
yeah,
are the company benefits up to date? Have we got new products coming in the new year that we probably didn't have in the previous advert, sort of 3 to 6 months ago, or our perks and all that kind of stuff being highlighted? So again, to make that as appealing, is the company culture, are those buzzwords included as
yeah.
well? So I think, having a proactive approach and making sure that information is as live as it can be, is key, and something that should be, planned ahead of time before reposting those adverts that you're going to be paying money to put on these job boards, etc. So you want to make sure you get the most value out of every penny that you spend.
So you just use the word then a proactive approach, which
Yeah,
I really like, and I think we can delve into that a little bit more. So in my mind, a proactive approach could look something like thinking, right, what type of individual do we want to recruit?
yeah,
What type of individual do we want to bring in? And what type of advert is going to attract that individual? If, for example, we're looking for someone in a more senior role
yeah,
who might be further on in their career, they might want to hear more about stability
yeah.
and strategy. If we're looking for someone more on the junior end of the spectrum, then maybe the advert needs to sing more about
Progression
culture,
and culture.
progression,
Yeah,
career pathway, um, all those good things that are going to attract those people. Um, I also think as well, um, if you're an employer and you're looking to recruit, look at your competition, see how they are talking about themselves, what's good, what's not good, how can you be better, and refresh your job advert because at this time of year, again, more people on the market, more companies recruiting. we're all advertising generally on the same platforms. So LinkedIn, probably the most popular platform where people go to find jobs these days. It's difficult to make your job posting stand out on the face of it. When people click into that, or candidates click into that, they need to then gravitate towards it, and it needs to sound different. And that's a way that you might get an edge in January, and certainly in this first quarter. But it's good. It's good practice to be in overall, I think. Cool.
Really like that point, Mike. Really like that point. Shall I take us to point number 3 on the list?
Go for it. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this one, Mike. I think, leveraging ultimately all the channels that we have affordable to us to try and identify talent. So I'll probably, expound on that a bit more. So by that, I essentially mean, we've spoken about utilizing job adverts. Other resources include maybe LinkedIn. Other resources include attending sort of networking events and seminars to again try and identify talent. But also, maybe considering the use of a recruitment partner, someone who ultimately operates within your space to help you find the right talent that you're looking for. So yeah, shameless BMS plug there, but I thought definitely at the start of the year you need to be considering the right kind of methods to find the right people for you.
It's important, isn't it? Right, because you've got loads more candidates in the talent pool, which is good, but then how do you qualify and assess them to leave you with a shortlist? And how do you know if all you're doing is advertising that you are recruiting the best person on the market at the time you're recruiting? So there's a caveat in this. Yes, there's more people on the market, but that's your active talent pool, and we talk about this a lot. There's a much bigger portion of the market which is the passive side of the market. And this is where typically, and this isn't binary as such as say all the top performers live in the passive market, but if the best people probably aren't applying for jobs because they're being well rewarded, doing quite well where they are. They might be looking for the next step, but not 100% priority because they're doing okay, but they're open to listening to approaches. Your advert will never penetrate that side of the market because those people aren't looking. So, I do think it's important to consider working with recruitment partners, whether that's BMS or whether it's another recruitment partner. But if your approach is just one dimensional in the sense of we're going to put an advert on LinkedIn, then all you're going to get back is the best of what
that advert can source.
On LinkedIn, 100%. What do we what's your thoughts on considering? Let's just do that bit again because it just didn't flow 100%. So anything else to discuss on point 3 there, Sam? I just think we've got everything.
I think you've got everything pretty much, Mike. I think the key thing here is it's all about trying to cast that net as wide as possible, to catch the ideal person that you're looking for, right? And if we are going to be relying on an advert, and that's the only thing that we're doing, and if we aren't utilizing all these other different methods in this January period when this role is so critical, you want to be utilizing all the different tools available to you as an employer to find the right talent. So you want to cast that net as wide as possible. It's a great point.
Yeah, totally agree. So moving on to point 4, I wanted to talk about being open-minded to recruit on skills, not just experience. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's such a good point, and it's really refreshing to hear. And look, by no means am I saying this. I don't think you're saying this either, Mike, because we completely appreciate how important technical skills are as to the ability of doing a job. However, in this market where you're gonna be probably seeing more people, it's important to prioritize those soft skills, and when I think about what those soft skills could be, it could be, negotiation, as an example. It
Yeah.
could be communication skills,
Yeah.
again, it could be problem solving skills as well. So I think it's such a
Mindset. It's a huge one,
mindset.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mindset, resilience, growth mindset within that, so
Yeah.
these are things that we ultimately, they aren't technical things of being able to do the role. However, in this period in January and any time anyway, when you are looking to recruit, prioritizing those soft skills, in my opinion, are great, especially when you think about the bigger picture in the UK and the labour market and all
Yeah.
of that. I think we could have a podcast in itself on that point, really.
Yeah, we could do definitely, and I think this dovetails again
Yeah,
slightly into. So if let's go into your world, you've got
yeah,
a company and they say, we're an orthopedics business, and we want to recruit, but we need someone who's got 3 years selling orthopedic products,
yeah,
solutions, whatever it might be, um, rather than just sticking in that lane,
yeah,
considering right what else someone could have sold into a hospital or theatre environment
yeah,
that would no
exactly.
would fit, because then we're looking outside of potentially orthopedics
Yeah,
and we're considering people that they've got a sales background,
yeah,
but if you look at your best salespeople, what soft skills have you seen in them that
yeah,
we can cast the net wider for, to
yeah.
coin your
To try
phrase
and
from
identify.
what you just said, yeah, to give
Yeah,
you access to a wider talent pool because there's more people on the market. So hopefully there's a better caliber of sales professional, or a higher
yeah,
volume of caliber sales professionals there to
yeah,
select from. So why would we just continue to stick in
yeah,
box A when we've got box B, C, D, E,
yeah.
F available to us? That fair?
Mike,
Yeah.
it's a perfect example, and I really like the fact that you've gone with orthopedics. It's a great point. But no, Mike, you're
That
right,
just
right?
came from the top of my head. It wasn't really. If any orthopedics
Yeah,
sales leaders are
yeah,
listening, and you think that's a good
yeah,
approach, then go for it. But
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah.
picking on
No,
orthopedics.
definitely nothing to do with your previous football injuries back in your day. I don't think. No.
Bodybuilding injuries these
Yeah,
days. Yeah,
bodybuilding.
now,
Yeah,
yeah,
bodybuilding. Yeah. So, Mike, just back to what you said. I think the key thing has to be, trying to cast that net as wide as possible. And if you think about
mm,
orthopedics specifically, what are the other soft skills that someone could have? What about other people that have sold, different products into that theater world or sold products into hospitals that are
yeah,
looking to again make that step up? What about these people that could be clinical or nurses that again have the soft skills to become a
yeah,
salesperson,
yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah,
wouldn't be able to assess that without having that conversation with them. And I suppose that's where us recruiters come in and look to add that value for you and do that kind of thing. But as an employer, you need to be open-minded to do that, because it increases, diversity. It
yeah,
increases the odds of, ultimately finding that top performer, because usually they aren't. 9 times out of 10, when I speak to these companies, some of the top performers don't usually come from within that kind of background anyway. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I really like that point, Mike, and it's great. It's a great thing for companies to be
It's
mindful of.
it's such a good time to recruit a salesperson.
Yeah,
Salesperson generally is make
yeah,
the most of it, and reflect on what you've done last year
yeah,
and think, right, what could we do differently to really make the most of, a market that is a bit more buoyant with candidates. And I think the final point that I wanted to touch on before we wrap up was around the employer brand piece.
yeah,
Um, Again, more people are on the market. That means that's really important that everything to do with our employer brand is up to date
yeah,
and it's clean.
yeah,
Um, LinkedIn profiles, um, making sure that people's job titles are all up to date, ensuring that we've got blog posts out there.
yeah,
Again, they're up to date. I would say
yeah,
that the job adverts are actually on a careers page and there's not a load of expired job adverts on there.
yeah,
If you're
yeah,
looking to um, recruit a millennial
yeah,
or a later stage millennial or a Gen Z,
Yeah.
And they're probably going to be looking on TikTok,
Social media, TikTok,
Instagram, socials. Let's make sure that you've got a presence on there, that you're advertising on there, so that people are really getting a feel for your business before they click apply. Anything you'd add on that, Sam? You're a bit more au fait on the social media employer brand, I think, these days, a bit more current than me, based on your LinkedIn activity.
Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Mike. I wouldn't go that far, but look, that's a great point. When we speak about marginal gains, we speak about marginal gains within our team, and it's no different when companies are recruiting. And when we speak about marginal gains, employer brand is everything. It boils down to not just the feel that I, as a candidate, could get within that interview process when I meet, my potential hiring/line manager, but also all the things that go in and around that, right? We live in such a digital and visual world. So it's important to make sure that your website stands out, your LinkedIn stands out. You spoke about TikTok, when was the last time that we made a post? When, as our marketing team backing up those creative market forces, because, to attract these kinds of people, it needs to stand out. People want to be proud of, where they're working. I know from myself, it's a big deal to me, and I'm sure it's no different to any other candidate. When you're speaking to your partner or your parents, or, I've got an interview with this company, show us what they're like. All this information really needs to stand out. And if they see that, and it all plays into that subconscious, shall we say, and as long as the interview process and all that kind of things marry up, so that employer brand is key, and you got to make it stand out. You got to make it better than your competitors, and you need to make sure that you're keeping up to date with the current trends, because you're going to get left behind.
And as we said at the beginning of the podcast, now is the perfect time to be doing that, because there'll be more people visiting your website,
exactly. More eyes
engaging with your employer brand if you've got a vacancy. So hopefully that was helpful to everyone listening. Very top level discussion around each of these points. Each of the points could have been a podcast on their own, but we thought, let's get started in this new year with some top level advice that hopefully helps sales leaders, talent teams that are thinking about or have already started the process of recruiting a salesperson for their teams. Great conversation, Sam. Excellent.
Really great conversation, Mike. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the year ahead, and hopefully there's been lots of value in that for people. Look forward to getting any feedback in turn.
Great. Cheers, guys. Speak to you all next week. Thanks.
Cheers. See you next week, guys. Bye.